Well, you know what?
Well, what?
We're not the only spokespeople for epilepsy anymore.
What?
Yes.
Who else is joining the crew?
Well, there's actually two people who have recently decided to throw their hats into the ring.
All right.
And I think this is, this kind of upsets me.
Why?
Well, I thought we were doing a pretty darn good job.
Well, they're not in Cincinnati, so
They're not.
we're holding it down here.
Okay, well, we're worldwide.
Oh, that's true. Well, they
We
can get in
are.
where they fit in. Maybe they'll put us in on their deal.
You think so?
I'm hoping.
Is this our big break, Margot?
I'm hoping because they can, depending on, we're going to work with our Pawn Star friend.
Pawn
We should
Star
be able
friend.
to get on there.
Rick Harrison of Pawn Stars partners with the Epilepsy Foundation to raise awareness. I think that is so cool.
It
That
is.
finally somebody's stepping up and said, hey, you know what? I'm willing to, throw my hat in the ring. I'm willing to come forward and talk about my experience with epilepsy.
Right.
And also, kind of let people know that this is not what we all might
See
think.
on House. You know how on House or any other medical show, and the first thing they always do is go into a seizure, and then the first thing they always give them is Ativan. Like, everybody has a seizure, and I'm like, well, that works. I mean, 1 out of 10 people can have a seizure, but my goodness, every show someone's needing
Is
some
it
Ativan.
really?
Yes, like before anything else happens, there might be some type of failure or something, but she's going into a seizure, he's going into a seizure, and then they always get you going all crazy.
See, I don't watch House.
Because you're too busy watching The Walking Dead.
and other things. More scholarly kind of program.
But
than
of
that.
course,
I'm busy preparing for the show. You can tell that.
I know all the highlights.
Some of us have to prepare.
I know. Some of us just go
But
off
and Rick Harrison apparently he had epilepsy as a youngster.
Okay.
Okay, and
So did he grow out of it, or is he still
apparently
having
he's not
that?
having seizures anymore.
Oh,
So that's
good.
kind of a cool thing. I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
I'm happy to have him on board. He's welcome in our world. Anytime he wants to make a guest appearance,
We'll let him know. Yeah. I'll tweet him later on and say, hey, we've been talking about you. You talking about us?
yeah.
But that's good, even with him coming forward, even if it hasn't been something that he's been dealing with, just being able to. I think that that's the important part. Going ahead and not being able to hide behind the condition, but getting in front of it to not only make yourself aware of new things, but other people. So, good deal. I'm happy.
And not only do we have a male who's doing this, we got a female.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. I mean, thank goodness for women's rights. We finally get in there, huh? We've got some.
And she's a Latino.
Awesome.
And her name is, what's her name?
Elizabeth Espinosa.
Elizabeth Espinoza. And apparently she's on CNN. Have you ever seen her?
I haven't, but I'm not a big CNN watcher, so
Neither am I. I
smack my hand.
kind of try to avoid that. News.
We gotta start watching the news because we want somebody to watch our news. So I want to check her out.
Yeah, I think I am too. But we are grateful to Elizabeth Espinoza for lending her voice to the Epilepsy Foundation and its mission. And it is vitally important that all people affected by epilepsy, including those in the Latino American community, know that they are not alone.
Because it says that here that she's being an advocate and bringing more epilepsy awareness to the Latino American community. And from all of the information that I've had to do with just researching with blacks and Latinos, they are more the highly affected races other than Caucasians. More prevalent, you find that. So it's good to have somebody step up and do that.
And I also think there's a greater impact.
Really?
That it has a more devastating impact upon the family and the individual when it does occur.
And I could see that.
In those particular populations.
And I talk about that information that I found out a long time ago too, about most of the time in both the African American and Latino communities, they find out during emergency situations. So finding out having to be rushed to the hospital or something like that, and here it is now that we have epilepsy and not having, we talk about different, and not that that just feels into that demographic, but you think about it, it is another stressor, especially if you're dealing with so many other pieces
gosh,
you
yes.
know, livelihood, here we go, we have now, if we have medicines, maybe there's no insurance. So it is a stressor, that impact, and especially not knowing, and I can even imagine, thank goodness it's a lot different now, but being, if English is your second language, or not being able to have that same sense of being able to understand like what's going on.
And even being an undocumented individual.
Right.
You know, and being afraid that if you go to the emergency room, you may end up getting deported.
Yeah, oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, think of those particular
Yeah.
stressors too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are all things that certainly have an impact upon it. So it's nice to see that actually some people are going to remove some of the weight that's been placed on our shoulders.
And it looks like she's also provided some pretty good information to the community. It says, of course, now we talked about this our last show, that now they have new developments that it is 1 out of 26 Americans will
That's correct.
will develop epilepsy in
at
their
some point in
lifetime.
their life, yeah.
And she's got, and I don't know if this information's from her exactly, but I know, and I didn't know this, it says more than 23,000 Latino Americans in New York live with epilepsy, in Florida 44,000, and then in Arizona nearly 20,000, in Los Angeles 19,000. Those are heavy numbers.
They are.
Those are really heavy numbers. And thinking about the demographics of places, thinking about healthcare, I mean, I love Florida, I've been to Miami several times, but even in the education field that I've talked to different teachers that were there, it's very hard. I mean, the learning curve and all of those. So if that's what's happening just with that educational, think about how much information they may not even have on epilepsy.
Yeah.
So it's a really good thing that she's doing that.
One of the important things that I want to that I want to link in with what you're saying right now, Margot, is that if in fact that happens to be the case, okay, if in fact you are Latino or Hispanic, and you have a family member who has epilepsy, and you're thinking, my gosh, where am I going to get materials in this particular person's native language, so that they can become better educated about it and be able to better deal with it. What they can do is they can give us a call, because we have Spanish language materials available, and I mean, yes, and very nice. We have a very nice packet put together, very, very nicely done. It's excellent information, and certainly it's available, and it's available free of charge. Okay, all you have to do is call us and let us know that you want it. And you can call us at 513
and 721
2905, or you can reach us at www.cincinnatiepilepsy.org.
And I
We'd be
think,
happy to send it to you.
yeah, and I think even though I think anytime you hear something from someone that may be going through the same things that you're going through, it's a little easier to take in and say, I can understand it, or I can accept it. Because if you're talking to someone that really has no idea about your family background, or they can't relate to you, it's harder to take that information. So, I mean, you may walk away with someone saying, like, yeah, you have epilepsy, or this may be going on, but you may not fully go through with what needs to happen as far as with not necessarily treatment, but even medication, because there could be denial, or there may be that translation gap where it's like, you're saying this, maybe it's something that I have to deal with right now, but it'll go away. So having those advocates in a multicultural sense, just I think makes it, we can do so much, but on the same note, having that impact like with Elizabeth, and really, because I wouldn't have known any of this information as far as the impact of these numbers. So I'm glad she said she got an Emmy in 2007 for some of her work. So she seems like she's she's rocking it out.
Yeah.
Getting the word around.
So this is cool. This is cool stuff. No, certainly we want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. And
are we leaving?
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I hear your stomach growling.
You probably do.